The Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. I don't want it to have anything to do with my daily life. I want that riff to take me away.
Yeah, your song about real life would be, well, you live in California, so you know this more than me. Stuck in traffic for the next 2 hours.
That's not a good song, and I don't want to hear it. Because I've been there. And who hasn't? Nobody wants to hear that.
And nobody wants to hear me sing either.
Well, I do. I kind of like it. What I figure is, look, I'm going to a movie. You're the director. You're driving. Take me somewhere. I don't really care where we go. Don't be concerned that, they won't know where we're going or they won't understand. Just take me somewhere. I'm in the car. I came to the theater. You're driving. Have the guts to take me somewhere. Sorry, I get passionate.
That's fine. That's good. I like passionate. I'm passionate about some things, so that's good. But like The Sixth Sense, I kind of had to watch it 2 or 3 times to pick all the little details and nuances up. It's good to make somebody watch a movie and have to think about it and go, I like that, but I don't understand it, so let me watch it again.
You know, a movie that really resonated with me when I was a kid was Amadeus, because it was about these great themes of genius and where it comes from and who gets genius and why. And my whole life I've been thinking about that movie ever since I saw it. I don't think there's been a week that I didn't think about these great themes of this great, poignant tragedy of a man who wants so badly, Jim, he wants so badly to be a genius. And he begs God for the gift. And God doesn't give it to him. God gives it instead to this farting, irreverent little prick, Mozart. He gets the gift. And there's this beautiful moment where Salieri looks, he's holding the crucifix in his hand, and he looks in the fire, and he looks down at the cross, and he says, Grazie, signore, grazie. And he throws it in the fire. He's like, I'm done with you. You don't give me my gift, I'm done with you. And that speaks so much about human nature. That's just one film, but I love these films that get an idea across. The Children of Sorrow is about trust, because it's about a cult, and it's about who to trust and when. And I think that's a good theme to think about and groove on.
It is. You've got to develop relationships, but it's so hard to trust people, Tom, because at the end of the day, they have their own agenda about what they're doing. I'm sure you're familiar with that principle of being an actor. Somebody walks up to you, gets good old buddy-buddy with you, they want something.
I don't trust it, man. My dad taught me not to trust anybody who glad hands you or calls you buddy.
It's true.
Hey, Jim, buddy, how you doing? I'm like, beep, 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 beep. The guys who come up, the ones who can rip me off and con me, and have, are the ones who come up and like, hey, man, how you doing, You're like, hey, what's going on with you? Nothing. It just makes you more curious, and then you want to dig more.
Right. I know that feeling. Been there, done that. That's okay, though. We're not going to delve into the negative ends of things. So I want to ask you, what's your advice for a young actor or actress has the idea in their mind finally, and that's what they want to be? So what would you tell them?
I'd tell them to really, really think about what makes you happy, and is this the gift that God has given you, if you believe in a God? Do you think this is what you're meant to do with your life? And the way you can know is set your alarm for 3 in the morning and wake up and ask yourself the question. Because then all your defenses are down, And you'll know. If this is what you're meant to do, by all means, go and do it. But if you just think that you're going to get rich or famous, please, God, run the other way. Don't come anywhere near this profession, because you won't get rich and you won't get famous. The odds are completely against you. You have to love it, or there's no point in doing it. So make sure that it's your passion, to the exclusion of all other passions, professionally. And if it is your passion, then do it, but be sure.
Solid advice.
And act. Like write, like what does a writer do? A writer writes. How do you write? You get up every morning and you write, even if you don't have anything to write. Same thing with acting. If it's a young person and they think they want to be an actor, don't read about it, don't think about it, don't moon about it, don't talk about it. Do it. Start acting. Act.
Well, you just told me a little bit ago you spent 13 years on the road doing this before you even got anywhere close to being where you're at now. So it's a process. It's not like you show up day one and they say, here's your new sitcom or your future film.
Oh, absolutely not. And I made a good living in theater. I enjoyed theater, but I'd never done film at all. And when I did start getting involved in film by accident, it ended up being really good training for it. Having done all of those shows, it gives you confidence. So yeah, it's a lifelong thing. So if a kid wants to be an actor, don't think, I'll give it 5 years. You have to give it a lifetime, like any other profession you really love. Like a musician, right?
Right, exactly. We all can't be Justin Bieber, thank God.
Yeah, man. I mean, John Fogerty's still out there cranking it out, and John Mellencamp, and shit. I mean, all these guys. It's a lifetime thing. Sometime you're famous, sometime you're not, but you do it because you love it.
I went and seen the Eagles in July.
Were they good?
Awesome, amazing. They sounded just like they did on the CD. But then again, that was how they recorded back in the day. They recorded live. There wasn't all the overdubs, and so. So who's your music? Who are you going to go see if you would go see somebody? Since we're on the subject.
That's a really hard question. To pay to see would be tough because I've got so much music and I love so much music. To actually see, I'd probably see McCartney just to say that I had seen him. Yeah, definitely. I saw James Brown when he was alive, when he was given sort of his last concerts, and I was really, really glad I got the opportunity to see him. The people that I like to see are like the legends. I see the Stones. Yeah, people like that. They're really big ones.
So that pushes me to my next question. Kind of. I know there's probably a politically correct answer you're going to give me here, but I'm going to ask the question anyways, so. If there's like one person or a couple people even that you'd like to work with that you haven't had the opportunity to work with yet on a film, I guess I should preference it that way too.
William Devane, Willem Dafoe, Christopher Walken, De Niro, all these people who are known for giving great, intense performances. Sometimes you get lucky enough to get compared to them. Somebody said if Harvey Keitel and Willem Dafoe had a bastard love child, it would be Oberst. Somebody wrote that once. So those kind of people, who are kind of sort of in my class, who I can learn from. I got to do a film with a guy named Robert Loggia. You know who Loggia is? He was in Big with Tom Hanks. He played the boss. The one who danced with the Yankees.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it took me a minute. Like I said, I don't watch too many movies, so it's all running together. I was thinking Forrest Gump for some reason, so anyway.
Loggia's done a slew of bad guys. He's a very, very famous badass actor. Anyway, I got to work with him, and just being able to be on the same set with him was an education, just watching him and his relationship with the camera. The camera it's like a lover. It's the closest thing. And watching how different people approach her and touch her and stroke her and try to get her to respond to them, it's amazing to watch. You don't just walk in front of a camera and say, hey, look at me, because the camera's a really fickle lover. You got to touch it in just the right way. So I love to watch these very, very, very experienced actors do it.
That makes sense to me, because it'd be hard just to, okay, back it up. Personal story time. Everybody turn the radio off for 30 seconds while I tell it. I used to do, when the show first started, I tried doing video. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't look at the camera and please everybody while I'm sitting here doing this interview, talking, jotting more notes as questions come up that I want to ask again later, or or read a chat room or read tweets, or just it's just there's so many different little angles, but I couldn't just take myself and just sit there and smile while the guest was talking, and then just instantly just start asking another question. So people were kept asking me, why don't you look at the camera? I'm like, you're watching me do a radio show first and foremost. I mean, there's other things going on besides I'm not Bill O'Reilly sitting here hosting the show, and that's all I have to do. I'll have a producer in my ear saying, ask him about what it's like to live in Hollywood. I'm sure that's insane, but that's
yeah, you're absolutely right. Being on camera is a skill. It's a skill I didn't know until I started 5 years ago. I knew stage intimately. I knew it so well. You could feel every pulse from doing thousands and thousands of shows. And camera is so different because the audience isn't there. And it took me a while. I was like playing to the invisible audience. It took me a while to realize that it's just me and the camera. There's nobody else there. The fat guy in flip-flops holding up the cords, he's not there. And sometimes your other actor is there with you. Sometimes they're really not. They're not present at all, just physically there. It's about you and the camera, you and your relationship with the camera and the light. That's the cool thing about being on camera, is how being in the light can change everything. you look at these old movies, you know, the movies of the 40s and 30s, and how they lit the characters, the film noir stuff. Yeah. Lighting is everything. So I like to stay on set while they're lighting so I can understand the light in the scene and know how to move in the light. And sometime, like occasionally, you know, I'll learn something and be able to move in the light the right way, and it gives a really nice effect. Because that's all camera is. You're just painting with light in the frame.
So it is fascinating what they used to. I mean, what they used to do with even like dialogue and just angles and stuff. It seems to be a lost art, the art of making a film.
I think it is. Now they just, well, I shouldn't say they. Now a lot of people buy a camera, point it, and shoot it, and think that people will want to watch it.
And it's not always the case. I mean, there's got to be more to it than that.
It's like a date night with your wife, man. I mean, you got to put some effort into it. You can't just say like, hey, you know, we're having beanie weenies, let's get to it. It's the same thing with you have to romance your audience. And a lot of directors don't do it anymore.
Is that just because of lack of knowledge or the lack of desire to, or just trying to crank out the next one?
Cranking them out, because everything now is just about, you know, theaters are just about gone. Spielberg believes that in 10 years there won't be any movie theaters anymore. I don't know about that, but most films, certainly most films that I make, they're never going to play in the theater, ever. The new delivery platforms on the internet and through streaming and the home theaters. And so there's this mad scramble to get product out there. And things get done really quickly.
But I think there's still going to be a demand for quality stuff. Even if it isn't in the theater, I think somebody will still pay to see a well-produced, well-delivered movie, though. Right?
Well, there is for me. There is for me. I mean, I won't go see a movie unless I think it's going to surprise me. If it's just, okay, it's the blockbuster of the summer, and we know what it's going to be, I don't really have any interest in seeing it, Jim. You know, I want something to surprise me, take me somewhere. So I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe I'm the rarity. Maybe people are just like, oh, I want to see a movie about this, and I want it to be exactly what I expect it to be. And I'll be pissed if it's not exactly what I expect.
Then why see it? Then why see it?
That's what I'm thinking. Why see it? It's like if you have a kid and you're like, I know exactly how this kid's going to grow up and what his life will be. Why raise him? Where's the mystery and the romance and the love of life then? I don't know.
I hope I know what my kid's going to be when he grows up. I don't know what he's like. I don't think he's going to be an actor, but I think I want him to be a solid young individual when I turn him over to the world. I don't care if he's an actor or a doctor or well, probably not an astronaut. With the government shutdown, we got to stay away from those kind of jobs.
And thank God that you don't know, is what I mean. Like, we don't, you know that Garth Brooks song, The Dance? Yeah. I'm glad I didn't know. I
still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
It's the same way. And I think that's fine, and it's wonderful, and it's good. But I wish that more directors, and particularly people who invest in films, would trust audiences with a little ambiguity, trust us to be okay with not always getting exactly what we expect. Surprise us.
Yeah, I think that's key to anything. I think the element of shock, surprise, I don't think it's ever hurted anybody, but what do we know?
That's the kind of films I aspire to do. God knows it's not the kind of films I always do. You know, because I'm an actor and I got to work, and I've done 13 films this year, and I'll do 14 next year. But, you know, that's what you aspire to. That's the gold standard.
So you just mentioned you do 13 and 14 films a year. How does that process? I mean, I know there's a whole back-end process, but how does that work for you? Like, do they tell you days, weeks, months in advance when you're going to be doing this, or how does that work for a novelist like me who's outside the business?
You know, on a big studio film, you know, many months in advance. For smaller films, they'll attach you as the first step. They'll say, hey, Jim, would you be interested in attaching yourself to this role? So what that means is that usually they pay a fee, or they may not if you don't want them to charge them, but they use your name to raise money. And so they can use your name for a year to raise money. And then when the money's raised, then they go into pre-production phase, and that means they're gathering all of their information together and trying to get a production schedule, and then the last step is saying, okay, now we're actually ready to go into production. You usually get that information 2 months, maybe 3 months beforehand. But it can change. They can do what they call push, which is like you can be a week away from starting a project, and you blocked off all the dates on your calendar, and then they say we're pushing, which means we're moving forward a week or 2 weeks because we're not quite ready. So what you have to do, I've learned, is to have a clause in your contract that says if it gets to be within 30 days of the shoot and you push, then, there has to be some compensation.